Welcome to Be Culture, episode 4. This week's book, Things We Don't Talk About by Otis Brown Jr. So, the last book, How Do We Get Here? This is a sequel to that book. But this book right here, he goes, by the title, Things We Don't Talk About. Just think about it, like those awkward conversations that need to be spoken, but like we don't want to step on somebody's toes, or you don't know like the ethnicity of that person, and things can get a little wary or a little emotional with the way the world has been in this past year. And some things are coming full circle from back from the 60s, and these topics that he touches in his book are real. They're things that we are so afraid to discuss, and we try to ignore it and sweep it under the rug, but they do exist. So the first chapter comes off hard. Summer of 2006. If you're from New Haven, Connecticut, that summer right there, it was one for the ages. He's in his book as a sophomore in high school. I was a junior in high school. During that year, we had, as it reads, 136 shootings and 24 homicides, a shooting every other day. And it was so crazy because back then, literally, you heard a shooting every other day, like so many times. It was even a song that came out called Hop Out the Cut. I remember hearing this song at my cousin's house on a MySpace page. We're jamming to the song because the beat was fire. But like they're talking about the dirt that they're doing around town, with shootings and whatnot. And as this book is one for the culture, but if you're from New Haven, Connecticut, this book hits home, especially with this chapter, because it was so real. Like those shootings were like uncalled for. It was with kids that you knew and grew up with, kids that you knew didn't live that life, but were doing the dumb stuff. Like it was a kid I played football with, went to middle school with, smart as nails. Very smart, very bright, was a part of the shootings. One of my favorite chapters in this book is called Still Queens. I'm going to read you a quote from it. Look at all the bad things they try to do to you, but you're still queen of the earth and you're beautiful. Jadakiss. In this chapter, Otis Brown Jr., he goes on all about our black women today in this day and age. On how, some might not value themselves as they should. A lot of women are prone to be in toxic relationships and trying to play savior to it, and not really respecting themselves. And like nobody's perfect, but as you read this chapter, and it also goes on what society sees beautiful in a black woman. Black women are beautiful all around, melanin queens, but society has us paint this picture with the lighter skin and the curly hair. So maybe our darker skin sisters might not get as much love, or might feel insecure about themselves. Also with the body images, like they're supposed to be a size 6, society says, but you are who you are. And as I kept reading this chapter, I'm like, man, he's really hitting it. He's really hitting it, because that value goes on. And everybody, self-confidence comes from childhood. Everybody's not born in the marriage system with the mom and dad in the same household. For a majority of us, it's like, you stay with your mom, you see your dad on weekends, if that's even the case. So you might see your mom go through these things, and she had a lot of bad relationships, but she stuck around. So a lot of our young women are doing the same. And, don't get me wrong, some relationships need the work to build it, but some are just toxic, they need to let go. So it's like they're kind of like selling themselves short with keeping on to a few of these guys. Because, a lot of these guys are like prone to use them and bring them down instead of help build them up. So as he states in this chapter, you are still queens. And this is very true. Racism still alive, they just be concealing it. That Kanye line. And it's true. And as Otis states in this chapter, from as Trump presidential campaign was going on, Make America Great Again, you'll see like these, a lot of bigots came out. A lot. And, it's hard, like during Obama's 2 terms, we thought we came somewhere. Of course, there was still some setbacks that he couldn't control, but as a people, things got crazy with police shootings and whatnot. And it feels like those people who were shooting are the ones who voted for Trump. Like people might not want to admit that, but it feels that way. So as I kept reading through this one particular chapter, you think about what was going on at the rallies. Like people who are throwing stuff or like kicking people out. Like Trump brought so much anger out of people, like the hidden anger inside. You know, not to say one's better than the other, who else was running, but we just deep down knew what it was. Like when he got elected, that next day, November 5th, everybody like felt that way. Like no matter where you weren't ass up per usual. So like this chapter, it hits it. Like if you're into politics, like me myself, I'm okay at politics. I try to stay current. Just because you should know what you know. I'm more of a Daily Show guy myself, but bigger than Trump is like basically saying what's going on in the world. Racism still very much alive. It's 2017. Sometimes with the shootings and whatnot, it feels like 1960. So Otis, let me ask you. After your second book, what's your mindset?
Um, I'm proud of the book that I was able to put out. I felt like it was necessary because there's so many things that we, in particular, as the Black community, refuse to talk about, and I think that it was necessary. You talked about Black queens. Like we don't treat our women as queens anymore.
Yeah.
And there's another chapter, I think it's called Not Black Enough. It's
yes.
We look at certain individuals in our communities and we just say, they didn't have the real Black experience. They don't know what we go through.
Yeah.
And we alienate them, and then we wonder why, when they make it out, they never come back and try to help us. Well, we never included them. We never made them feel like they were a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's things like that. And then I also talk about the concept of white privilege. That's something that's
mm-hmm.
major, and people don't want to talk about it. Black people don't want to talk about it. White people, we don't want to talk about it. But institutionally, there's things going on, and we have to talk about it, or they're never going to change.
Yeah, definitely. So, where do you see New Haven, Connecticut in 5 years?
I think it could end up in one of two places. If we continue down the same road, it's going to be exactly the way it is right now. But if we have more people that are willing to step up and address these issues, then it could be a much better place. We won't see as many shootings. We won't see kids dropping out of high school and, ending up in the drug game. But we have to have people that are willing to step in and be mentors and willing to do those things. And there's just not enough people that are willing to do it at this point. So if more people step up, then things will change. If not, then we'll enjoy things the way that they are.
With that being said, my last question for you is, people stepping up, do you see yourself as a young leader, young activist within our community?
I really haven't even thought about it. I'm just passionate. I think that there are issues that we need to talk about that don't get spoken about, and I'm just going to continue to talk about those issues. I'll let people label me however it is that they want to, but as long as they're at the end of their statement and saying, this guy is making a difference, then that's good enough for me. So
that's great to hear. Hey, I'm moved by your book. I can't wait for the third one.
I appreciate it.
Looking to be on the cover. So, Otis Brown Jr., Things We Don't Talk About. Get this book. I recommend this book because reading it, it's a short read, about 70 pages. But it hits you. It brings out, we all think these things and want to say things, but we might not want to stir up an argument. Because, everybody, it's rare that you can find a conversation that doesn't lead to an argument over these topics that's in this book. You want to just be able to have a depth conversation without nobody undermining the other one's opinion or how they believe certain things should go. You can find this book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. If you know Otis' contact info, hit him up. He got him. But this book right here is great. Part 1 was very good to me, but this one was more personal to me. Part 1 was more history. This is like more current, what's going on now. It's nothing more lit than knowing what's going on within your community, within the world. I know most of us, we're part of this, the millennials, that we know we're so much on phone and apps and whatnot, but this brain food, this knowledge is real. Life is real. But thank you for joining me for episode 4 on Be Cultured. Don't forget, let's get this book Okay? Let's make a difference. Be cultured.